All right, let's get right into this. We're looking at a story that starts as a corporate dispute, but quickly spirals into this multi-year fight for the truth. And it's all backed up by an incredible amount of evidence. This really isn't just about a disagreement, it's about what happens when a massive company decides that saying nothing is its best and only strategy. So, what does a corporate stonewall actually look like? Well, here it is in one number: 76.9%. That's the percentage of all formal official communications that were flat out ignored, deflected, or just blocked for 317 straight days. This isn't just a case of bad communication. This is a deliberate strategy of silence. And that's really the core of this whole story. Everything kicks off with two really shocking events happening less than 24 hours apart, which then triggers this 317-day wall of silence. First, a traumatic incident at an employee's home. And then, almost immediately, a dismissal from his job that was questionable to say the least. This timeline right here, it really sets the stage for a long, drawn-out battle for just basic answers. So, how did we get here? Well, it all started with one deeply traumatic incident, which was followed by an incredibly swift corporate action. Let's take a closer look at how a personal crisis and a company's decision collided with absolutely devastating results. The police intervention on September 29th was, well, it was anything but minor. It left the employee, Pasquale Alfieri, with severe physical, psychological, and personal damage. I mean, we're talking about documented injuries like a broken rib, being sedated and hospitalized against his will, and a life completely turned upside down. He even lost his home and everything in it. The company's response to all this, it was immediate and, frankly, pretty shocking. The very next day, while Alfieri is trying to deal with these catastrophic consequences, he gets an email telling him he's fired. Now, this isn't just terrible timing. It actually violates Spanish labor law, which says you can't be dismissed like this through an email. And that dismissal, it was just the beginning. It kicked off this incredibly well-documented pattern of avoidance. This wasn't a one-time mistake or a missed email. No, this was a sustained, deliberate strategy of non-response that went on for hundreds of days. Over those 317 days, Alfieri sent 13 formal communications. And this chart really tells the whole story. Just look at these numbers. Almost 70% of his official requests were either completely ignored, just vanished into thin air, or they were deflected, answered without actually answering any of the real questions. Only a tiny fraction got anything close to a real reply. And here's a perfect example. This is an urgent, direct request for a severance payment of over 27,000 euros that was part of his contract. And this wasn't just some casual note. This was a formal demand sent straight to the top, to the company's executive leadership, including their chief legal officer. And what was their response? The only thing he got back was an out-of-office auto-reply from one of the executives. No money, no explanation, not a word. This one interaction, it perfectly captures the stonewalling that became the absolute center of this entire fight. So you have to wonder, how do you fight back against a wall of silence like that? Well, Alfieri didn't fight back with opinions. He fought back with cold, hard, documented evidence. Evidence so powerful, the company couldn't just brush it aside. And that's the critical question, isn't it? When a powerful corporation just decides to ignore you, to not engage at all, how can one person possibly make them listen? The answer, it turns out, is to find evidence that is so clear, so definitive, that it simply can't be denied. You find proof that speaks for itself. Okay, first up, the medical smoking gun. The hospital's own records show Alfieri was forcibly injected with propofol, which is a really powerful anesthetic. Now, while in the hospital, he strategically told the doctors he had taken drugs, likely as a safety measure while he was in custody. But here's the kicker. The official toxicology report came back completely negative. No drugs, no alcohol, nothing. This proves his symptoms were caused by that forced injection, which is essentially a medical assault. Second, we have a corporate bombshell. Right here, in their own legal termination agreement, Bentley Systems states, in Spanish, the company recognizes the unfairness of the dismissal. I mean, that's a direct, written confession of wrongful termination straight from the horse's mouth. And then, the most critical piece of the puzzle fell into place, and it changed the entire story. That police intervention, it wasn't random. It turns out it was triggered by a phone call from another Bentley employee. This creates a direct line from the corporation to the traumatic incident that started this whole mess. So you see the point here, right? This stopped being just an employment case. With solid evidence of a company-initiated police action, the whole situation started to look like something much, much darker and more complex.
And this is where the story takes an even more sinister turn. Evidence started to pop up indicating the use of Pegasus. Now, this isn't some off-the-shelf computer virus. This is powerful military-grade spyware. It's the kind of tech that's normally sold only to governments to spy on high-value targets.
And the proof is right here in the technical data. A forensic analysis of Alfieri's phone, done during a trip for a court meeting no less, showed all the classic fingerprints of a Pegasus infection. His phone's processor was running wild, there were huge amounts of data being written, and there's even evidence that his phone's camera was turned on remotely. So think about it. You've got overwhelming proof of a medical assault, a written admission of wrongful termination, a company-orchestrated police incident, and illegal state-level surveillance. Justice should be a slam dunk, right? But what happens when the very system that's supposed to deliver that justice just fails? Alfieri tried every single avenue available, every single one, but they all led to a dead end. The Spanish police just ignored his requests. The labor courts were blocked. The European Court of Human Rights rejected his case. He even went to international NGOs and made direct appeals to Bentley's top lawyer and was met with that same deafening wall of silence. And after exhausting every possible path, despite having this mountain of irrefutable smoking gun evidence, not one institution could or would provide a solution. It led to this simple but absolutely devastating conclusion: there is no remedy if none is helping. And that's where this story leaves us, with this profound and honestly troubling question about corporate power and whether our justice systems can actually handle it. Why does this matter? Well, it's pretty clear. If this level of meticulous, undeniable proof isn't enough to get a resolution, it shines a huge spotlight on a fundamental weakness in the very system that's designed to protect us. It forces us to ask, when a corporate Stonewall meets a systemic failure, what chance does one person really have?